Hi, guys. It's just me today. I usually do this podcast with my dad, and it looks like the real podcast will probably be kicking off one of the days before the election, depending on when Stu and I decide to actually start doing it. And I've actually had some talks with some other folks who are interested in being on board too, but the true drone dialogues will finally really be kicking off. But this is a solo one. But it is sort of related to, you know, my father and I discussing firearms. And today I pulled up a tweet. Um, Here, let me read it instead of putting it on the screen. It says, sorry, I should have had this ready. So, end wokeness, which is a good account, even though I don't like using the term woke or wokeness as a derivative for many reasons, which is a whole different video. I just say degenerate. I would say end degeneracy, etc. But it says, remember when Biden Harris freed the Merchant of Death, Victor Bout, for the America-hating WNBA player Griner? He just sold 10 million arms to the Houthis. Oh no. So let's look at that article, and then we're going to look at Brittany Griner in case you don't know who she is. So this is Victor Bout or Boot. Victor Bout, back in business selling weapons to Houthis after Griner prisoner swap. And if I'm saying Houthis wrong, you can hoot these nuts. I don't care. The Merchant of Death. See, they called him the Merchant of Death, so he must be a really bad guy. He must be mean and evil, and even worse, he's Russian. He might have been the very one that watched Trump pee on those hookers. Okay, jokes aside, this person is an arms dealer. Now, what is the problem with him being an arms dealer? He's a former soldier in the Soviet military who took advantage of the fall of the Soviet Union. That to me looks like opportunity. That to me looks like good business. He sold to insurgent movements in Africa, South America, Asia, and he was arrested in 2008 in Thailand in a sting operation. So let's be clear. Let's instead of getting all into our emotions regarding the release of this man in prison for Brittany Griner. So this is let's remove um, his being Russian. Let's remove his being Russian. Here's a man who sold firearms. He sold them to people that may or may not like us. He's a businessman. Now, allegedly, what the arrest had to do with is let's see if they say in here, but from my understanding, um, he also had planned to kill some people. That was one of the charges. I don't, I, let's see, and he sold to the Houthis. Let's see if it says anything about this. No, in this it doesn't say anything about him having people on a kill list. But let's get back to it, right? Let's say you're a dude, okay? You probably are a dude if you're watching this. Let's be honest. Not many women are gonna watch this. So you're a dude, right? You find a cache of firearms wherever. It doesn't matter if they're your uncles or you kill a bunch of guys, whatever. I don't know. You find a bunch of firearms and you say, well, hey, I can't even store all these firearms. I'm going to sell them. And I'm going to become a millionaire based off it. Within the firearms community, what's the issue? What is the issue with someone who has a bunch of guns selling them to someone? I realize we have a Second Amendment, and we say, well, that entitles law abiding citizens to own firearms. Um, Even with the limitations that most of us don't really accept, you'll still abide by the law because you don't want to ever be in a situation where, let's say, someone does accuse you of something, true or false, and they find an M249 squad automatic weapon in your garage. That's a no-no. That's a felony, especially if you don't have a stamp or a reason. And I don't think there's any reason that even machine gun licensees would have an M249 squad automatic weapon. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, hey, fine, whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But like I said, you're selling firearms to people who need them. So we can call him the Merchant of Death. We can call him some bad guy, and we can look at the Russian, or we can just keep it what it is. A guy who sold weapons, and when threatened by people who wanted to arrest him, said, well, you know what, I'm going to take him out first. And there's the issue where we get into sort of what was he guilty of? Is this a charge? I mean, as we've come to know, when it comes to accusations, not everything they say is necessarily true. If you've ever read a warrant, which I have, you'll find a lot of colorful language in there because it will get the judge more likely to approve the arrest warrant. You know, let's say your charge is smoke some cannabis. Well, most judges are going to be like, give him a ticket, it's a waste of time. But if you were to put, due to certain acts, we believe that he is a cannabis dealer, then the judge might be, hey, you know what, this might be a warrant worth approving. But either way, the only thing for a fact we know he did is he sold firearms, which a lot of people who follow this channel, a lot of people who follow me or my father on X or on Facebook, it's a normal job. But we give this title the Merchant of Death. It's a sensationalized title, and there was even a movie called God of War. And gosh, looks like we might get a sequel, guys. That was a joke someone else made in the comments. So let's go back to this. So if this guy walked by you on the street, but you know, maybe if you took that away, he'd look a little, a little like Hitler. It's just a dude with a mustache, right? Doesn't really strike fear. He could be the most evil person alive. You don't know. All right, so let's look at Brittany Griner. Look at that, man. All-American girl, gold medal. Oh no, she said BLM and she's anti-American. Well, where's the one that's like the mugshot? Oh, yeah, it's her in prison. Ooh, she's a woman with tattoos. Oh man, she has dreadlocks and look, no breasts at all. Let's call her a dude. Y'all, look at the little Russian cutie next to her. See, that's femininity. This is just masculinity, and that's gross, right? You, lady, I don't know what's up with you. But the simple fact is, she has a lot of tattoos. You know who else has a lot of tattoos? A lot of Americans. Who has dreadlocks? A lot of Americans. Who's tall? A lot of Americans. Who has a flat chest? A lot of Americans. I mean, the simple fact is she's an American. And when we leave Americans out to dry in foreign countries for some weed, and we don't want to exchange anything, I think that's a problem. You can argue about her political views, you can argue about who Victor Bout is, but if you're arguing Victor Bout being some evil, but you're also pro 2A, I think you're kind of a hypocrite, because Victor Bout is helping those people become armed in nations where they're not even allowed to have guns. I wouldn't call him a hero, but I wouldn't say he's necessarily the villain, and I sure as hell do not think Brittany Griner is a villain. I may disagree with a lot of her politics, but that girl's as American as apple pie, whether she likes it or you like it. So if you're, and I know some people have thrown out this red herring out there, and let's get to that. Let's see, U.S. Marine imprisoned in Russia. Okay. Let's see. One former Marine, the second accused of being a mercenary, were hit with long sentences in Russian courts on Monday. Robert Gilman, who was serving 3.5 years in prison for attacking a policeman, was given 7 years and 1 month for violence against prison staff. Meanwhile, a mercenary. Yeah, okay. Where is this might not be the right one. Yeah, I think we're looking for a different guy. Okay. Oh, Paul Whelan. Yeah, that's who it is. Paul Whelan. Sorry. He was released from Russian prison after more than 5 years in custody. But um, when it happened, he was left out of the prison swap. But he was eventually released. But that was the major complaint, is people were like, "Oh, well, he's a former Marine." It's like, or he's just an American. I love Marines. Most of my best friends were Marines. I served in a Marine unit. My sister is a former Marine. My father was a retired former Marine. Marine. But okay, and here's the other thing: nothing wrong with the reserves. But if you got out that long ago and you've done other things, like it's kind of misleading to say he's a Marine. I know, once a Marine, always a Marine, blah, blah, blah. I love it. It's great. It's wonderful. Chef's kiss. But he hadn't been in the Marines in 2 decades, okay? Um, oh, wait. Oh, he was discharged from the Marines for bad conduct. Even better, okay? So, once again, don't care. Um, he's still a Marine, right? I have friends who've gotten their big chicken dinners too. And we should have fought to bring him to admittedly, right? But to act like Brittany Griner, who never served, is any worse than a Marine who got the big chicken dinner, I'm not going to. I don't root for her. I don't watch WNBA because it's less exciting than watching children play basketball. Uh, I don't care about her political views. Yeah, here's Paul Whelan, right? Staff sergeant discharged the Marines for bad conduct. Right? Why was Whelan in prison? He was arrested for spying. Now, is the U.S. gonna deny he was ever a spy? Of course they would. Say, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a former federal employee for 7 years, right? I had a secret and then a top secret, right? Maybe the other order around. I can't remember. Or, anyway, I had something that was just like a security clearance, right? There's a lot of stuff that we did that in a future video I will sort of get into. But it's a lot of stuff I can legally say, but they probably wouldn't want me saying. I never worked for an intelligence agency. I never worked for the CIA. I never worked for what's the Snowden one? It'll come to me. Uh, or DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I'm sure there are some other things we've NSA. Yeah, I'm sure there are some other little tiny agencies and adjuncts that we probably don't even know exist, right? But even in that small capacity, that lower form of government law enforcement, there was stuff that I was not supposed to say, right? You're not going to go and say, oh, yeah, Paul Whelan was a spy. And even if he doesn't show on the payroll of someone, you can get paid as a contractor to be a spy. I'm not saying it's true, but what I'm saying is if we're going to look at Paul Whelan and we're going to say this guy is a Marine and we're going to ignore the bad conduct discharge, we can probably ignore um, that Ms. Griner smoked a little weed. Know what I mean? I'm just saying, guys, like her, not like her. Don't try to act like Victor Bout had some big effect on your life. I know, man, look at that evil face. He could be a stand-in for Hitler. But what's he doing? He's bringing arms to people who don't have them. Who does that? Our federal government. Maybe they just didn't like the competition. Anyway, I got no problem with Victor Bout. I got no problem with Brittany Griner, and I hate that if you look up here, it says Brittany Griner, male or female. Guys, some women have small breasts. Some women are tall. It's okay. She wouldn't sleep with you anyway, bro. She likes chicks. Which, hey, that's a whole discussion within itself. So no, us returning an American to American soil for Victor Bout in 2020, it didn't bother me then. It doesn't bother me now. It doesn't bother me if he's selling to the Houthis. And why doesn't it? Because they aren't my enemy either. The U.S. has decided that we should see many people of different places around the world as their enemies. Excuse me while I refuse to, because I believe that we have enough enemies at home and we're letting them in. But that's a discussion for a different day. Anyway, I've gone on too long. Don't hate Brittany Griner. Don't hate Victor Bout. If you want to complain about our government being liberal and whatever, getting her home, remember she's an American. Paul Whelan's home, or how do I say his name? Let's see, Whelan. Paul Whelan. He's home. Okay, guys? We're happy to have him home. Welcome home, Paul. Don't get in trouble and get another BCD, okay? No more big chicken dinners in the core, guys. Be good. Anyway, that's that, and thanks for watching.